What's up, guys? Philip at Trade Genius. All right, Bitcoin has just mowed through the 6,400 level. This area should have provided more support, and it just didn't. So we're going to talk about what this means now, the possibilities that this opens up, and also how this is going to affect the altcoin market. And we're also going to take a look at the futures chart, because at this rate, we're going to have a pretty big gap come Sunday evening, and we'll see how that plays out too. All right, guys, let's dive into this video.
Trade Genius.
Guys, really quickly, we do have current specials running out in a few hours. We have our special code Memorial for 40% off. That would be in anything in the store here. And if you want to get with us in the room or get our indicators, you can check out these specials. One cool thing with the indicator on the Moneymaker is you can use this, especially with your alt trading. If you can chart it on the others ticker through TradingView, you can do this on the free TradingView, but you can use these Moneymaker indicators to signal times to get in and swing on alt entries. Also areas to be where you might look to take profits as well. So check it out. This is the Moneymaker indicator. We use it a lot, and a very useful tool. All right, let's dive into this video now. Bitcoin, if you notice on Bitcoin, smashed right through this level like we talked about. So 6,400, at the very least, we should have seen something like what we had here as we came up toward this 5,500 level, but you can see where price was respecting some previous areas of resistance and then moved up. You saw there was a fight here in this area, and price went up and respected that. But we didn't even get that here. Look at this multi-month area of support. Not only did it not really respect much of these lower wicks, it didn't really respect the point of control here, and didn't even really respect this trend line off of these lows. I thought at the very least we might tag that and pull back, but nothing, just mowed right through it. And, as far as volume is concerned, we're definitely seeing some good increase in volume, but I really thought we'd see a lot more volume on a push through like this, and we just didn't see it. So now it's a matter of, okay, what's up next? Well, basically what I'm looking at now are these prior tops. And so our first one's around the 73.60 level, and this other one at around 84.80. And I think those are going to be areas of interest. But you have to keep in mind, guys, that now that we've gotten through this large area of consolidation, and this now opens up big doors as far as what price can do. Now, I think ultimately at the end of the day, what's going to happen is we are probably going to see this come to an end in a couple of ways. One is a big blow off candle. Let's say we have like $1,000 day. And I can show you an example of that back in 2015 here in a second. Or we see something like a divergence on the daily or weekly on the RSI. And we just don't see that right now. RSI is making higher highs with price, and you see that on the daily and the weekly. So, because of this price move here, normally I'll do these at the beginning of the week, but I thought it would be better if I did it now because of the price move that's coming up. Now, people are wondering, is this an area to buy into? Honestly, this is, if you're not in on this move, as far as a swing trade goes, I would let this play out. And there's going to be a lot of opportunities to get back into this. Basically, what we have is our halving bottom is in per what we've seen on every halving cycle. So that's in. And now what we're seeing is going through, obliterating what should have been really good resistance, obliterating that. And this is going to flip to support, or it may dance up and around this level a bit. But I'm going to show you something. If we go back to 2015, okay, so a little difficult to see, so let's zoom in, all right, because this is just due to the price action. What I want you guys to key in on is the fact that, okay, price came out at the 2015 bottom, right? And look, kind of a similar thing, we're coming up. What you want to be aware of is when we start seeing daily candles that have these large wicks. Okay, when we start seeing this stuff here, this big wick, okay, that's probably going to be a good indication of short-term top. Then what happens is you start to see these larger pullbacks that we customarily get when we start trending above the 200-day moving average, which is represented by this red line here. Okay, so this was a 40% peak to trough, top to bottom on that one there. We had another one of 25% here. And again, this is still going into the halving. Okay, we haven't even hit the halving yet. Here's another one, 38%. Okay, this is right around halving. So you just have to bear in mind that these kinds of sizable pullbacks are going to happen. Everyone forgets that they do, but they're going to happen. So if you're not in this current move, don't worry about it. There's going to be plenty of opportunity to buy the dips. Again, here, this was the beginning of 2017 when this move started, this last bull move started, and you were looking at a 30%, 7% pullback. So that's the type of thing that's going to continue to happen. People will forget that it happens. And when they do happen, nobody wants to buy it because they feel like the rug is getting pulled out from under everybody. But those are exactly when you do buy it. Similar to like this drop from the top was very on par with most of the moves that we've seen from post-halving peaks. You get anywhere from 80 to 90% type pullback, which is what we got. Nobody wants to touch it because it's never going to stop pulling back, but it does, and off we go. People often ask, is it too late to buy Bitcoin when we see these types of moves? And here's a metric that's pretty interesting. If you were to buy Bitcoin from the top, let's say you bought $25 every week from the top, okay, in December here, and every week you bought $25 worth of Bitcoin, your average price, you'd be in profit now. That's how, even at buying at the top, but buying Bitcoin often enough and regularly enough, you will see this type of performance. So, it's never too late. I mean, obviously at some point, buying Bitcoin will get expensive, but I think you can look back in any opportunity you had. When we look back at by the time Bitcoin finishes its S curve and it's gotten to a stable price in the six figures, any entry below 20K is going to look very genius if you were able to do that. So I think key is, dollar cost averaging is critical. Obviously, we can pinpoint better spots, high risk reward areas to maximize those things. But that just shows you that when we're in these bull cycles in these areas, especially how early it is really for Bitcoin, because we just really haven't seen the large institutional inflows yet. Even though it started, we just really haven't seen them yet. I mean, when we start seeing trillions of dollars in market cap, then we can start talking about, okay, the institutional inflows are here, but trillions of dollars in market cap, we're headed toward, if not already in the six-figure territory for Bitcoin. So that's going to happen. Bitcoin's that finite that we're going to see those types of valuations. So this is the kind of stuff where people get a little bit leery now. It's like, well, did I miss the boat? No. Just keep in mind that those large pullbacks do happen. You just don't want to be afraid about getting into them. So that's the kind of stuff that we talk about in the room, and then also the critical levels to take advantage of when those things do occur and not being afraid to accumulate. Because again, this isn't a sprint, this is a marathon with Bitcoin. We have very, very high valuations that have yet to be seen. Now, as far as the altcoins go, Bitcoin dominance has really been sucking up the cap, and we can take a look at that. So Bitcoin dominance, as long as Bitcoin dominance is on the rise like this, it's going to be very difficult to see any life in alts. We are getting a decent bounce in the alt caps right now, and the dominance is pulling back a little bit. So what I'm looking for, and this would signal more of a longer possible bounce on the alts, is this line to actually start to roll over, and something similar to what we would see here. This is a daily now, but once you start seeing that move down, then you can see something, or expect to see something like this. Typically what will happen is these cycles will roll over, and then you're going to get toward the lower end of the range here into the oversold territory. And that's what you want to catch on these altcoins. So we're starting to see possibly the start of that, but a decent bounce here in alts. And not only in USD, but also in terms of Bitcoin. So that's something to keep an eye on, but I think there's some pretty decent entries, especially on some of the ones that have really been hit hard on this downturn from this dominance rip for the better part of April. Okay, let's take a look at the futures. All right, guys, so we're hovering around 7K or so, somewhere in this range, and we closed at 62.90. So we're going to have a pretty decent gap when the futures markets reopen tomorrow evening, 6 p.m. Eastern. So that's also going to be something to keep an eye on. That gap will close. That's just going to happen. It's just going to be probably on the next pullback. So really, at this point, what we're going to be looking for is market action that kind of gives us an indication that we might have an exhaustion move, like we said, on the daily candle, especially if you see that long wick. That's probably a good sign. Maybe at that point you can entertain a short, but shorting right now when there's just every little dip is being bought that we see right now, this isn't the environment to get heroic when it comes to shorting, because here's the hourly chart, right? There's just very little in the way of pullbacks. Any kind of decent pullback that seems to get started, this would in weeks and months past would be a nice BART move down. Nope, it just gets bought. Here we come up to 7,000. First decent rejection here, boom, bought right back up. and then pressing back above it. And everything so far has told us that this is just probably going to see a break above 7,000. The only thing that would indicate something different is if we actually saw a bigger breakdown, but every little dip has just basically been bought, and there's just not a lot of continued down move on this. So you just have to be, you can't really, this is just not market action you want to see to be shorting into, and that's what's keeping this propelling higher, especially through the 6,400. Once this level broke, that volume node on the daily was key. This just squeezed, and then now you've got dip buyers here. But 7,000, this to me looks like it's just getting ready to break through that, and now we're going to start seeing concerted efforts at round numbers like 8,000, 9,000, things of that nature. So, but again, guys, price action at these levels, there hasn't been a lot of, right? At the end of 2017, price moved pretty quickly through these levels. So we don't have a lot of historical price action in here. So things can get fast and furious now in these levels. One last thing I'll show you is the fear and greed indicator. All right, so we have extreme greed. Not really surprising considering what's going on. But let's look at the chart. All right, so here's the graph, and we are well above 70 here. This reading we currently are on is 76. We had a couple readings in the 74 area back here in February when we were coming out of, or starting into the bear market, and we're having these big vicious bounces. And now we're in this territory price-wise where we don't have a lot of volume history, and so I think we can start seeing some probably pretty big moves on this as well. And I think you have to also consider, now that we're in a bull market, which we haven't seen with this fear and greed indicator, largely this has been reading us measurements in a bear market. So expect to see higher fear and greed readings. Okay, I think we're going to start seeing thresholds that are going to give us higher than what we're used to as far as extreme readings. So yes, historically we are in extreme territory. But just keep in mind, I think right now what we do is we wait for a blow off in the daily, and then we see what our reading is now on the crypto fear and greed index, because I think we need to expect higher thresholds than we saw in the bear market as we start turning into a bull. Okay. So again, normally we would say watch for a spike down on this, but I think that really we probably want to watch more for a blow off daily type candle, just because of where we are now. Because breaking through 6,400 really just changed everything. And what we're seeing now is market behavior. And you can see it on the daily chart too. I mean, or on the hourly chart, the size of the bars and things are vastly different than what we've seen before, where we'd have like a bit of a move and then consolidation. But this is like a lot like 2017 type move. So this is parabolic here, and we will see this cool off, and you're gonna have a nice opportunity to buy the dip. So that's the key here, guys. So anyway, we'll cover that more in the room, but I wanted to just tell you guys, if you aren't in this move right now, swing trading wise, don't worry. We're going to have a lot of opportunities to buy the dips here. And typically, historically, that there will be several of those as we keep trending above the 200-day moving average. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe. We appreciate that. I'll see you on the next video. Take care.
Trade Genius.